So I'm sitting here in the parking lot of my local service center here in Claremont, Florida, and this service center is pretty awesome, but that is besides the point because one of the things that I, like many of you, have noticed is increasing inventory levels across the US. Now, it has been a long time since we've seen a full parking lot of inventory after the last few days of an end of quarter push. That is very normal. We usually start with almost zero, and then the inventory starts to grow until the very end of the quarter. We see an entire parking lot, sometimes even entire mall parking lots full of cars, and those are all sold. This, however, is the first time we're looking at huge inventory at service centers across the US that are not sold. We've had inventory, of course, that you can purchase on the spot for some time now, but nothing like what we've seen since 2024 started. And it raises a lot of questions. What's happening? What's going on? Why is this an issue right now? Well, I think there's some obvious, really big issues out there, especially on the macro. When you look at how the economy is, interest rates are high, a lot of things are happening. However, one thing I noticed after picking up my Cybertruck from our trip to Europe is inventory levels, believe it or not, have actually gone down here at this service center. I'm going to take you on a quick little lap around here and show you, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is happening, talk about the numbers, and is right now a good time to buy, or is waiting going to actually net you a better deal? More on that to come. Make sure you stick around to the end. There's a lot to talk about here. Inventory, prices, what happened last quarter, what's happening this quarter, what should we expect for the last month of the first half of 2024. All right, so diving into things here, I want to take you on a lap because this is kind of something new for us. Although this service center is brand new, we've never seen inventory like this before. Now, starting at the end of Q1 of 2024, we saw this parking lot absolutely jam-packed, and it was actually the first time I saw so much inventory that they were actually able to set this up by color. So, new times indeed. However, whereas last quarter, at the end of the quarter in March, every parking spot was pretty much taken up, you can see we have some gaps here, and there are some cars that have just recently been delivered that'll need to find a parking spot. But overall, I can tell you that this inventory level is lower than it was previously. Now, going around here, you'll also see some Cybertrucks. Don't worry, those are accounted for. I think I counted 15 or 16 of them here at my local service center. Those will be delivered to customers. They're still not even in the last year of people who have ordered the Cybertruck for delivery. But the point is, as we drive around this parking lot, you can see this is not what we used to see at the any time throughout the quarter until the very end, when there was that end of quarter push. These cars are available to be picked up right now. By the way, it has been really cool starting to see Quicksilver showing up locally. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 of them here in the lot. This just recently came out, and you were only able to get this in inventory. That obviously comes with an upcharge of, I think it's $2,000, which is pretty crazy, but it does look so good, and it's a really good color for hot weather. Okay, so what the heck is happening, and why does this matter? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this a crisis? I think there's a lot of fair questions to be had about the inventory. This is something new. However, minus the macro that we've already talked about with interest rates being high, Tesla has done some things to try to combat this. Of course, they've done some mass layoffs, and the industry as a whole is down, especially in electric vehicles. Cost of money is very expensive right now, and the economy continues to be uncertain. So what Tesla has done recently, specifically for the Model Y, is they actually introduced a special for interest rates. So at 60 months, you can get 0.99%. At 72 months, 1.99%, and even 84 months at 2.99%, which is significantly lower than what the market rate is for those. Matter of fact, on the Model 3, those same 3 finance offers are 6.49, 6.49, and 7.49. So a huge difference, and that does add up in the monthly payment. And Tesla, rightfully so, has focused in and zeroed in on payments. They have seen a lot of success in the past that customers are driven by payment, and this is not exclusive to Tesla. This is natural. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. That's just how consumers look at new car purchases. They're more concerned about the monthly payment and can I afford that than the price or any other aspect. If the monthly payment is so low, they want to have the car, they're gonna get the car. But there's more to this story than just that. As a matter of fact, we've had a price decrease. $47,990 is the long-range all-wheel drive price for the Model Y. The rear-wheel drive, which now comes with the fully unlocked battery, that starts $1,000 more, and that is $44,990. So rear-wheel drive went up $1,000, all-wheel drive went down $1,000, but the difference in price from March to now isn't just $1,000. It's thousands of dollars. Let me explain that to you. So at the end of March, the base price of the rear-wheel drive was $43,990. It's now $44,990. It's gone up $1,000. However, inventory discounts existed and they were approaching $5,000. As a matter of fact, I even highlighted one right at the end of the quarter that was $4,400 off, making the price of that rear-wheel drive $39,590. With existing discounts available on rear-wheel drive and inventory today of 0, that price is $44,990 or $5,400 more today, even though the price is only $1,000 more. Looking at the long range, it's no different. $48,990 at the end of March, went down $1,000, is $47,990 now. So it should be $1,000 less. However, I was able to find an inventory long-range Model Y for $4,900 off, bringing it to $44,090. That's $3,900 less than it is right now, even though it was $1,000 more. So that flip is pretty extreme. What this means is, even though prices in some situations are down, they're actually not. So now before I dive into all of that, I do want to talk about what that means on a monthly payment basis, because like I said before, consumers are driven by what the monthly payment is, not necessarily just the price. So looking at this a different way, as it sits right now, the rear-wheel drive Model 3, $299 a month is the special lease rate, and the Model Y for the same version, $399. It's $100 more for the Model Y than it is for the Model 3 on the lease, at least. And when you bump up to the long range all-wheel drive, $399 versus $429, or $30 more. However, on the performance, no surprise, $599 on the Model 3, $509 on the Model Y, so it's $90 less. So again, this is for leasing, so $2,999 down, and that's going to be for 36 months, 10,000 miles. Of course, you can change all of that, but that's just comparing what those lease deals are right now for those. But when we switch over to financing, this is where the gap gets pretty significant, because Tesla, as I had mentioned, has introduced a special rate for the Model Y on financing. So looking at this at the most popular financing rate and then also the longest, bringing you the lowest possible payment, here's what we're looking at. For the Model 3 at 72 months, you're looking at $4,500 down versus $4,250 down for the Model Y. So very similar, and that's also the case for the 84 months. But the Model 3, 6.49% versus 1.99%. It's a huge difference. We're talking $605 a month for the Model 3 rear-wheel drive versus $518 a month for the Model Y. Just under $100 less for the Model Y to purchase it than it is for the rear-wheel drive Model 3, which is a less expensive car. Continuing down this line, the long-range all-wheel drive, $752 a month for the Model 3 versus $562 for the Model Y. Almost $200 less per month for the Model Y long-range all-wheel drive versus the Model 3 comparable. And then finally on the performance, $770, which I'll get back to that in a moment, versus $614, or $156 difference a month. Now, the reason why it's actually less of a gap on the performance than it is on the long-range all-wheel drive is because, of course, the performance Model 3 is the only Model 3 now that qualifies for that tax credit. And that is being applied, of course, that $7,500, bringing that down, even though the price has escalated on the performance Model 3 because of demand and because they're not anywhere near production volume on that thing, clearly. But then over on the 84-month side, again, I'm not suggesting this is a good idea, but this is just the numbers. It's very similar to what it was on 72 months. So 552 versus 468, 686 versus 508, 709 versus 554, or about 100, about 175 and about $150 difference for 84 months on these vehicles. Now, going back to this again, I want to explain something to you, and this is why it becomes important to understand it's right now a good time to buy. Of course, I've been watching inventory forever, and here's what we're seeing. In the US, since Tesla introduced these new interest rates, we've actually seen Model Y inventory go down pretty well. It's actually continuing to go down. So this is good. It's working. The Model 3, however, is up modestly, and that is because the initial demand for rear-wheel drive and long range has pretty much all taken its course. The car does not qualify for tax credits. It's up against a huge challenge against the Model Y when it comes to purchasing. For leasing, it's a completely different story. You can get some decent deals. But for purchasing, it's more expensive to get a Model 3 than it is to get a Model Y. The Model S and Model X finally were at a point where we're seeing the highest level of inventory in the US for both of those in over a year. And it was about a year ago, roughly, that we saw the big price changes, like the Model X qualifying for the tax credit. A lot of price changes last year. So for the first time, we're starting to see some actual growth in inventory in the Model S and X. So finally, is it the time to buy? And I argue no, but probably not for the reasons you're thinking. Yes, inventory is still very high. And yes, there are some good deals with interest rates, certainly, but there's zero discounts, not a single discount except for demo models. And those are back to the old days of where we're talking a couple $100, not a couple $1,000. So the discounts are terrible. The interest rate deal is fantastic. It's a really good deal. And Tesla is trying to see if this is going to work. And we still have a ton of inventory. So what happens over the next 30 days? That's a really good question. And I think that there's a really good chance we could see some really awesome deals, especially if Tesla is willing to continue to buy down that interest rate and offer some inventory discounts. As you look at it, like I just showed you, a rear-wheel drive Model Y is $5,400 more expensive in cash today than it was at the end of March. Nothing has changed in how they build that car. The input costs cannot have changed in just those 2 months. That does not mean that Tesla is going to all of a sudden start offering reductions on inventory. That doesn't mean anything. This is just my best guess based on what Tesla has done in the past and what we're looking at today. Interest rate offers, that's kind of newer for Tesla, and it's working really well. So there's a chance they're going to continue to hold on to this idea for now rather than discounting inventory like they had previously. So let me know in the comments, are you planning on taking delivery of a new Model 3 or a Model Y, and why did you choose one over the other? I personally still think, unless you're getting a performance Model 3, I still think the Model Y, even though it's not refreshed, is the better buy. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time.